Good morning. I'm here today to go over what we completed in science class for today. We actually started a Pear Deck on our genetics, our introduction to genetics. This is going to take us about 2 days to complete, and it's going to vary per class based on your questions and your responses in the Pear Deck. But we have allotted about 2 days to work on this Pear Deck. So as you can see on the Google slideshow, we started out talking about Mendel, what he studied, some basic vocabulary differences as well. And then we talked about his work on those pea plants, and then some common vocabulary of being dominant and recessive, what's a gene, what's an allele. We talked about, showing or representing those alleles with either capital letters or lowercase letters, and what those dominant or recessive alleles mean. Again, you can see here, this is a vocabulary practice. Again, we've been working with our genetics vocabulary for a couple days now. We also talked about the word genotype and phenotype, which is also very important in terms of genetics. And then sometimes you hear us refer to them as the H words. The H words are essentially heterozygous or homozygous and what they mean. So you can kind of see them coming up. That's what we talked about in part yesterday and today, going through this introduction on genetics, okay, with a lot of interactive Pear Deck slides. So if you were absent today, please make sure that you do the student paced Pear Deck. That will definitely help. Once we finished the notes, we actually went into this activity, which is a classic genetics part one. It's a review of a lot of the vocabulary we've been working with, and just to kind of see if you understand the concept of what Mendel studied with his pea plants. So 1 through 9 is basically you have your word bank up here, and then it's vocabulary. So that should be pretty straightforward for you guys. I've also color-coded everything for this assignment, so you can see in our example, it says a pea plant is heterozygous for flower position. I put orange, so you go up to where it says orange, or it's orange, it says flower position. You know that the dominant trait would be represented by axial. It's kind of on the side that's in position. Recessive trait would be terminal. And then if you read what this word means, which is heterozygous, heterozygous means you have different alleles, which is why you use a capital A and a lowercase a. And then what would be the phenotype if this was the respective genotype? That would be axial, because the dominant allele is always going to mask the recessive allele. So that was your example from there. It's going to be your responsibility to essentially go through each of these other questions and complete them. So you're going to start out with number 10. So it says a pea plant is heterozygous for plant height. You're going to go up to where it says plant height and say, oh, okay, the dominant trait is tall, the recessive trait is short. So you would type in tall, and you would type in short. The genotype, you have to look at your H word. You need to know what does heterozygous mean. Heterozygous means different alleles. So if your dominant trait was tall, you use the letter T. So it would be capital T and lowercase t, and then the phenotype would be tall. Okay, we've also included a little picture next to it to show what it represents. So seed color would be yellow or green, flower color purple, white, seed-shaped, brown, wrinkled. Again, and you're referencing this chart for questions number 10 through 33, which will bring you to the end. So that, again, is an extra reinforcement to kind of see if you can apply what we've learned in our Pear Deck on the introduction to genetics. Depending on time, you may or may not have to complete this genetics knowledge check as well. So that's something to kind of take note of. You're going to answer these series of questions, which are very similar to part one. So you may or may not get to that in class today. You might just do it at the start of class tomorrow. So that was your assignment for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your teacher. Again, we were working on the Pear Deck. We worked on part one of the genetics review, and then possibly the knowledge check. Okay, please reach out if you have questions.